Yeah, if the green light is on, then testing. Is this on? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Okay. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. So this is our board agenda meeting for April 13th, 2021. And I would like to welcome everybody back to the station after a long year of being gone. So this is a nice welcoming. And I'd also like to welcome our new staff members to the team. And I'm going to turn it over to Brandon, Assistant Chief LeMay, and he'll take it from there.
Very good. Welcome. Hope everybody can hear me all right. Sorry for all the COVID stuff. I don't know how many more times we can apologize for how this goes. Normally, Heidi's considerate one, and she gets a cake for everybody, but there's another regulation we're not doing. Sorry, there's no cake. But we wanted to welcome everybody, and we're going to do our pin-on ceremony here. And before we get going, we're going to have a Chief Van Camp. I think Commissioner Zaversi's already said a couple nice things, but Chief, you want to welcome anybody?
Thanks. I'm really pleased. This is kind of our first step back to our new normal where we're all seeing each other rather than on a damn screen. So welcome back. I can't think of a better way to kick this thing off. Nice weather and family and everything here. So welcome to everybody, and welcome to our family too. Some of you have been here family longer and some shorter, but you're all here and this is kind of our official kickoff. So I do apologize. It took about a year for one or two of you to get going, but welcome, and we hope we really enjoy this. We're taking pictures? Yeah. So we'll have pictures of everybody when we get done too.
And also, I talked with the members getting pinned on and the people pinning on. Any family members, you're welcome to come up to this middle when the pictures are being taken. You're welcome to come right up here. Heidi's going to be taking pictures of everybody anyway, but feel free to just come on up when we're doing it. We're going to be right back here, and you're welcome to just come on up, make yourself comfortable and get pictures. So Chief mentioned earlier, it's been about a year since some of you, this thing's been pushed off so long. Sean, for example, been here over a year now, and we're finally just getting to welcome him as a new member, off probation, but new. So, okay, we'll get going. Daryl and his wife, Julie, if you would, please come around here and join us up here. All right, please come on up here. This is Battalion Chief Klaus, promoted recently. Excuse me, he's been with us since 1/1/2020 as a lieutenant. He promoted to Battalion Chief 3/1/21. Yeah. All right, if we could, let's all face this way. Julie. Battalion Chief Daryl Klaus. All right, we'll welcome up Sean Mahoney, his wife April. Sean Mahoney started with us April 1st, 2020. Came in with us as a lieutenant. Is there anybody else that wants to come up and help pin on? Any chief types that want to help pin on anybody? Lieutenant Sean Mahoney. Good job. Good job, Sean. Get up, Justin Degani, his wife Lacey. Justin actually started with us here April 1st, 2021. So we were able to get him sooner than anyone else. So good timing. Lieutenant Justin Degani. Get Ryan Fakema, his wife Taylor. Ryan began with us. He started as a volunteer January 18th, 2018. And he became a career firefighter with us April 1st, 2020. Sorry. Firefighter EMT Ryan Fakema. And Drew Bonser, please, and his wife, Nikki. Drew started with us as a volunteer July 1st, 2014 through December 1st, 2016. He returned back June 21st, 2018, and he got his career firefighter position with us April 1st, 2020. Thanks, Chief. Firefighter EMT Drew Bonser. Congratulations and welcome again, everybody. We really do appreciate having all of our new members up there and all your loved ones. And loved ones, thank you for sharing them with us. We really appreciate them being a part of our team. We're excited many, many years in the future. One final round for all of our new members and promotees. We'd like to offer everybody some virtual cake, so please enjoy your virtual cake. Feel free to welcome and congratulate everybody. We're going to start up our board meeting. If anybody's interested in staying for a board meeting and hearing lots of policy review, you're welcome to. If not, we understand. Thank you again, everybody. Okay.
Daniel, how you doing? Can you hear us?
Hi, Dan.
Hello there.
Hey. So
Can you hear me over there?
he's on mute. You're on mute. You can unmute
Okay.
yourself.
Try that again.
Figuring out. Okay, so next on the agenda is the chief's report. Does anybody have any, or Chief go, never mind, brains, I have to get back into the mode of.
When you push the button down, there's the green. If it lights up green, that's how you know it works through the system. Otherwise, it stays off. If you try leaving it on, we're still learning the system.
Hello? Okay. I was fortunate to get the report out after coming back from annual leave. So it wasn't as long a lead time, but I hope you all had an opportunity to take a look at it. I would be glad to answer any questions regarding it, if there are any. I think there's somebody way over.
I've got a couple.
Okay.
On page 3, under other, at the top of the page, it's talking about training, and we've got 5 members who are currently in the Recruit Academy. I just wanted to check in to see how many do we have in EMT, or is that unknown yet?
Hello?
Brandon, how many do we have in EMT?
1 in EMT, 5 in fire.
And next question, at the very bottom of that page, under equipment and facilities, D, it's talking about the awning and for the door by the apparatus bay. I'm assuming that would be coming out of our capital budget. Is that correct? 'Cause I don't recall seeing anything on that.
CNR.
Oh, it's CR&R?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And it mentions personnel safety as an issue. What's the concern?
There's a snow chute. When we do get snow there, that shoots down because there's no real gutter there.
Can you, I'm having trouble hearing you because of the fan.
That's
Use
fair,
the-
because I'm
use-
having a hard time hearing you too. So.
Use the mic. So Mike's not here. I can't tell him to use the mic.
Oh, yeah, use the mic, Mike. It's something we should have had up there for a long time. We want to put a light with an awning in there to, one, for protect people and keep them out of the weather when they're trying to open that door. The other thing is we've been running through door locks because moisture builds up behind that thing because it's a westward facing door and it gets a lot of runoff water. So it would hopefully make the lock device that we have on that door last longer. So again, it's one of those things we probably should have put up when we built the building, but we never did. So.
All right, thank you. And two more quick things on the goal number 1 sheet.
Yes.
Just a request, if we could put the monthly staffing results, the average, kind of at the top, because that's the overall goal for the department, I think, that we're really focused on. So maybe just listing month by month what the totals are there. So we have a cumulative on one page, we can see all the months of the year. I think that would be helpful.
Sure. We can do that.
And then the last question I got is on goal number 3. On the first item there, priority 2, the operations training and safety team. It says no progress, just wanted to check in about that as far as what you're expecting going forward with that priority.
For priority 3.
Well, it's item 1, priority number 2.
I can give a little background. It's about the safety chief or status.
Go ahead.
So we have a transition period right now where Daryl is moving in as training officer and Derek's moving out as training officer, whereas Derek's going to be the health and wellness safety officer. And so I got him fully vested in on just spending time with Daryl. So we don't have any specific benchmarks in the safety arena. And in fact, I told him to stick with it as for April as well. So you won't see any for April as well. And then in May, he's going to do a 50-50, spend half of his time training his old job and the other half starting to learn on that. And then so that in June, we have everybody in their new capacity built up and going. So that's kind of the reason for that.
All right. So the June timeframe for that isn't what we should expect at this point. It's going to
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
With
all right.
the shifts around of the BC roles, then yeah, that would push that back. Correct.
And then following up on the next item down from there, the number 2, priority 3, there's no report on that as far as any action on that one. Is there anything happening on that one, or is that still in the future?
Oh, we haven't done anything on that
All right.
really substantially yet.
All right, that's all I had. Thank you.
Have any questions?
I made a comment back to you, Chief, about your, the awning over the main entrance to the apparatus bay. Main entrance to the apparatus bay, I would drive a truck through. I think you mean the personnel door, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Like I said, it was the adjective was
Yeah.
correctly spaced.
Yeah.
so. It wasn't up to my Perry White this month, so I apologize.
Daniel, do you have any questions for on the chief's report?
No, I don't. Hopefully you can hear me now.
Click your picture off.
Yeah, I know. It seems like if I put the mic on, the picture drops.
Do it.
It
Yeah.
seems like, can you hear me now?
Seems as if he unmutes, but is the volume on the TV turned up or whatever it takes?
Oh, yeah. They're checking things.
Yeah, his mute signal went off a couple of times.
Oh,
Yeah, but we still haven't heard anything.
there, your picture's back now. I think it might be on our end. Oh, you're still muted. Is it, he's muted on his end or our end?
Can you hear me at this time?
Oh, yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, it seems
just
like it seems like if I turn on my microphone, the picture drops.
Okay, well then go ahead and just talk because we know what you look like.
Okay, we've been there before. Okay, yeah. No, I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Okay. So Doug and Pam, you're good on the chiefs? Okay. And I don't have any comments. Okay, so
I was going to have Brent provide a follow-up report on the septic project status, and
oh, yes,
he's
yes.
supposed to do that. However, he's not here yet. So maybe if we can move down the
Okay,
agenda.
and then when he shows
when
up.
he comes up on,
That works good. Then the district master plan draft review.
just basically that we are continuing to work on the master plan, refining it, and that we will have further discussion about some aspects of it after this meeting is adjourned. So.
And you have Brent on for 6:05.
Yeah, I was going to have him do the CNR&R.
He'll be here at 6 o'clock. That's when. he's
6:05. I'm with him now. That's when he
Okay,
was
for sure,
planning.
6:05?
6:05. We
Okay.
show 6:05.
Yeah. So we can just go down and we'll just take care of the other business and then we'll pick up where he can pick up where we left off.
Okay.
So then your next one is the TCOM 911
Yes.
request for approval.
As you remember I think it was last month, seems like it's forever ago, we had Director Flewelling give us a presentation on the agreement and answered questions. And there was some questions, I think, regarding the bylaws, and those documents were forwarded for everybody to review as well. And I've not heard anything back regarding that. So I guess my ask would be that if we're ready to and go ahead and have the board approve that agreement and send it back to the TCOM.
So
Unless there are any questions.
does anybody have any questions?
I don't. I think, Milt, you had the issue about bylaws, didn't you?
Yeah, my issue was just, it wasn't clear to me how the member assessments would work, because they were removing the language that governs how they would be processed in the intergovernmental agreement. And in Keith's response back to us, he indicated that was being taken out of the bylaws, and the bylaws do indicate that member assessments are subject to the intergovernmental agreement. So I have no question that the board of TCOM and the management of TCOM, they have the best intents, and I'm not concerned about that. But I am still concerned that the language of this doesn't fit that, because it basically says, bylaws say the intergovernmental agreement rules, and the intergovernmental agreement says member assessments means all the costs that go above the 911 tax. So if they have costs that are above the tax that they collect, we have member assessments. That's how I read that. So this thing is too far down the road to stop at this point. So I think that the best thing that we can do is make sure that through the Thurston County Fire Commissioners Association and through the chiefs, that we are monitoring them really carefully and making sure that their governance processes are working well. But I'm concerned about just the language in this. I don't think it's right. So that's where I'm at.
Okay.
Just one thing regarding that, I would say that, just having some history with this whole thing, that there is really no political interest in charging the user agencies any longer. And I would tell you that in order to do that, there would be one hell of a fight before it would be
Yeah,
implemented.
that part's clear. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that if that had to happen, or something came up that would cause that to happen, that there would be a fair amount of discussion before it would be accepted by the users. So I think the risk is very small at this point. So
They would have been better if they had just taken out that one sentence in the IGA, and I wouldn't have any concern at all.
I agree.
So-
But this was a camel designed by a committee, so.
Yep.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
I would move that we would approve the intergovernmental agreement as drafted.
I would second that.
Okay, we've had a motion and it's been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
I abstain.
Oh, I was gonna say, did I need to print? I was looking at it wrong. Okay, so that has been approved. And, oops, wrong one. Okay, so we have the secretary report.
Okay, so you only have one set of minutes that were sent out. There may have been a minor revision request, and if so, it was already implemented. Any questions on those minutes at all, or? No, they're in the to be signed folder. Anybody want to make a motion?
So, great. Does anybody have any questions on the minutes? We make a motion to,
I'll move to accept the minutes as drafted and presented.
I'll second that.
okay, it's been motion made and seconded and approved.
Wonderful.
Oh, and so, excuse me. So all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And it's been, and it's been approved.
Great. And also, I have the warrants, and I'm happy to attempt to answer any questions you may have about those.
I had one question. I think it was number 317. It had to do with, it was Comcast TV at Station 82. And I know we installed that, put that in place up there when we had some bunks and we had the anticipation of putting a crew up there overnight and that kind of thing. I don't believe we're doing that anymore. And I don't even think those single beds are there anymore, are they? I mean, I don't know that there's a reason to continue to pay a monthly Comcast bill for TV up there. If there is, that's fine. I just raised the question.
I can look. We haven't, I know that originally we installed it for internet for a computer out there.
I believe
and-
it is internet and TV.
Well,
both, but you're
and
right. We're
part of
not
the reason
using it.
Yeah, so there were two bills that I saw. One was, I think it was on Chief's credit card, was for internet for Station 82. And then there was a separate warrant for TV for Station 82. Now, they might be the same thing and they're listed twice, but
It should be
that was
listed
part of the
twice.
reason I asked the question. Was it seemed like that was a separate thing that we had.
Yeah, we can certainly look into that and we can change that package. I think the phone used to be on it, but I think we switched it back to a cheaper CenturyLink line for the landline.
I'll follow up on that. Yeah, I'll confirm that that is in fact what the bill is. And also if it is, we can dump the TV and just keep the internet.
Right, and if it's being used as part of, sort of incentive to get people to be up there or whatever, I don't believe it is anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a need
Well,
for it.
I'll
Yeah,
check on that.
when we get our resident program and they are up there, we can reinstall it. I mean, it's just a switch at the,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. In the meantime, you could switch it off.
yeah. One of the things that we have been doing is Janet has been going through the bills and kind of clarifying where all the phones and everything is, which is something that, again, it's been hanging fire for a long time. And so we're getting those gradually weeded out. In fact, I believe that we've lowered our phone bill or our internet Comcast bill that has TV, phone, and internet bundled together. So, but we did get a different rate. We were working with Pacific Office, who helped us find out the correct package, because it's a real labyrinth of trying to figure out the rates and so forth through Comcast. We're doing the same with our landlines as well. So the good news is that we've now made a backup system that we have for when we lose Xfinity, when it drops from time to time, our file servers will then revert automatically to a CenturyLink line. The service will be considerably less, but it should help us power through any period of time that the regular internet's not available. So we've tested that and it seems to be working. So that was kind of a bone of contention as well. So, but we'll look into that bill out at 82.
And I'll try to have Janet maybe create a little report for that for next month on all that, the internet, phones, et cetera, communication areas, and show you the work we've been doing on that. Any other questions on warrants that I can try to answer?
I just, whoa, can you hear me now? Sorry. Number 324. I was just curious what the CPED stood for. If anybody knows.
The fire inspections?
Mhm.
Brandon, you want to speak to that?
I didn't hear what it was. CP
What
what?
does the CPED stand for on that
The
fire
Building
inspection?
Development Center, Thurston County, for fire inspections. at
Oh,
station.
community development. That's the county fire marshal. They annually do what I'll call courtesy inspection. But it's required by law that a public occupancies be inspected for fire code. That's what it's, yeah, community development department of Thurston County is what it is. The fire marshal's office is underneath that organization.
Okay.
They've inspected all of our buildings. I think they did it last month.
Super.
I've got a couple of questions. Number 322, we rented a scissor lift. What was that for? I just got a curiosity.
I'm sorry?
We rented a scissor lift on number 322.
That was for some repairs at 83 for the heaters in the apparatus bay.
So were we doing that ourselves or
No,
we had a
Trotter
contractor?
Morton
and
did the work.
we-
It was
we-
easier cheaper for us to rent the device than have them rent it. So we did.
Okay, cool. And 325, the annual property tax, is that stormwater tax? Is that what that is?
That's the only tax that we
Right.
pay. We're not exempt from that.
Right. Okay, just wanted to check and make sure that's what that was.
I did answer your email,
Oh, okay, I haven't seen.
That's
seen
okay,
your
yeah.
answer.
but
And-
yes, it is. It's for stormwater. That's the only
Yeah,
tax that we have to
okay.
pay.
And then last question on number 247, trash collection for the residents. I was just curious, why are we getting trash collection when we don't have any residents in the residence?
Well, is a person living in the house.
Oh, there is. Okay.
Yes.
I misunderstood that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's all I had.
Okay, so do we have any, Daniel, do you have any questions on the warrants?
No, they, other than that, you guys brought up some things there that I certainly missed myself, but no, they look good.
Okay, so I don't have any questions. So we need a motion to approve warrants.
I'll move
Oh.
that we accept the warrants as presented.
Oh, I didn't hear you, Pam.
I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, approved, warrants approved. Okay. So Heidi, for the conferences.
Brent's on if you want to.
Oh, okay.
Just
Oh,
remind
yes.
him when he's
Then
done.
we
Timing
can
is
do that.
impeccable.
Brent? You're up for the septic project status? Oh, we can't hear you.
You're muted.
Okay. Did everybody see Chief's email? I believe he sent it out 3 weeks ago or so.
Yes.
So we had two bidders. One bidder is not licensed to install septic systems. So, and then another bidder was, I believe, about double what the engineer estimated. So after doing some research, talking to the engineer, getting some more feedback, it sounds like the construction season is busier than anticipated. So a lot of people that he thought would have bid on it just don't have time. So we decided after speaking with Hatton Godat and Pantier that we would have the period be a little bit longer to put together a bid, but also not have I believe we had a 45-day requirement for the construction to be done, and we're not in a huge hurry. So we're going to extend that time frame so that we can get a more reasonable bids and more people to bid for us.
Okay.
I think Chief's email said something about there was questions from the bidders about access or being how they were going to take care of doing the actual construction. Yeah. Do you recall that?
And we had, one of the bidders was confused about building a road, access road from Johnson, or South Bay Road into the construction site. And that wasn't necessary. So part of the rebidding documents will clarify access and what's required there. So,
Excellent. Thanks.
yeah, part of their price was going to be building a road.
So that was the higher of the two bids?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That would,
So we clarified that. Brent and Steve both talked with some of the vendors and trying to figure out why nobody was bidding. And primarily it was that people are working. I mean, it's going gangbusters where normally it wouldn't be as busy as it was planned in February or March. So anyway, so it isn't, the thing is, it's not a time sensitive thing. Of course, the period of time that there's transition from the old system or the current system to a disconnect, if you will, then back to the new system, of course, will need to be controlled more completely. So we're, not out of service here, and we'll address that as well. But by and large, it isn't time sensitive. So Anyway, that's where we're on, hoping to get more bids and hope that they can be more competitive.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Nope. Okay, so thank you for the update. And then McBride, that's who's on.
Capital repairs and replacement.
Capital repairs and replacement.
So as one of our goals this year, as you know, was to take a look at the capital repairs and replacements and do some updating to it based on where we are today versus where we were the last time we really looked at it very closely. So Brent and his team have looked through it. I've looked through it. And we sent out a updated draft of the proposed budget. And what I wanted to do was to allow Brent to walk us through it briefly, what his team did, and then answer any questions. And what I would be asking for is approval of the modified plan. Moving on.
Mm-mm. Sorry about that. My computer decided to reboot in the middle of everything.
So
That is
maybe
a-
Brent, you can kind of walk us through briefly of how you looked at this and what you proposed and did. I did provide the board with kind of a summary of the changes when I sent it to them, but it might help
Okay.
if you kind of walk us through it just a little bit.
So this started about 2 years ago, but it finally geared up about a couple months ago when we first designed the most recent engine. We looked at some things, and then now as the agencies changed, we reevaluated when apparatus should be replaced, as well as the cycle for what can we do so we're not taking a big hit all at once. Because both District 7 and 8 pre-merger started at about the same time, there was a lot of equipment purchased in roughly the same cycles. So, for example, 3 tenders were purchased in 2009 and 2010 between the 2 districts. So we looked at how can we, one, do we need 4 tenders total? And if we do, or if we don't, when we go to purchase new ones, what's the best way in order to kind of spread out the life cycle of everything? Same thing for the smaller apparatus like the utility and battalion vehicles. When we first merged, we had matching pickup trucks and matching expeditions because they were purchased at the same time. So now that we're together, we've reevaluated what everything we need. We have a better idea of how we deploy. So that's changed a lot of what were the recommendations. So starting with the light vehicles, the utility battalion vehicles, we recommended replacing, I believe it's the 2006 now, and which was originally a Battalion 7, and making that a new Battalion 8 vehicle. And then starting from there, going on, we would replace one of the SUVs every 5 years, and it would the newest one would always become the battalion, and then after 5 years it would be bumped down to the reserve or backup battalion, and then for the next 5 years of its life cycle it would be a utility vehicle for going to meetings, running errands, going to training, basically for the people that aren't on shift necessarily but still need a department vehicle to get places. For the engines, we bought one in 2015. We have one on order that's going to be, we'll be sending the Spartan out the door. And then we pushed back the next ordered one just so that there was a little bit of time between them to, I believe, 2023. And then, so we'll be pretty good for engines. We also, I believe it was last year, adjusted the lifespan of the engines. We were looking at 25 to 30 years. Part of that was when the last recession happened, our engines were not being used as much as they are now, and our maintenance was still really good. We still have good maintenance, but we determined that we could push out the life cycle of those at the time. Now, we do have some engines. Engine 82, I believe, is in 1993, so it's coming up on 30 years old, which causes us to take some credit hits with WSRB, they recommend that a frontline engine should be in service for 15 years and then be in a reserve type status for the last 5 years of its life cycle. So the board already adopted that. So now we've made some changes to our recommended purchasing timeline for the CR&R for those. For the tender vehicles, we had 4 of those. There was 1 purchased by District 8 in 2005, 2 purchased in 2009, 2010 by District 7, and District 8 purchased another one. So now we have 4 almost identical vehicles, which is great for that. But because of our staffing model and we looked at trying to see what if we actually needed 4. I mean, it's always nice to have 4, but those are expensive pieces of apparatus. It was determined that we could probably do just fine with 3 because very rarely do we need all 4. This would allow us, we haven't determined it once the, if this is approved, we haven't determined yet what, which one we would sell, if it would be the 2010 style or the 2005. We were going to meet with some different vendors to see which one would give us the most value for selling, and then go from there. But this would also have a lot of maintenance costs that we no longer have to do, since we would be reducing a heavy vehicle in the fleet. We also looked at the ambulance and brush trucks. We did have a unit up for replacement this cycle. We had just gotten one already, and we determined that because of our growing need for wildland and us not really having a vehicle capable of doing that, that it would be money better spent right now to buy a new brush truck, and then in 5-ish years we would purchase another aid unit, and hopefully by then we could also get a surplus one from Medic One, which would allow us to re-chassis, which allows for a pretty substantial cost savings if we don't have to go out to build a new one. And I believe that's all the vehicles. Chief, did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so. I would just add that the amounts that we have in for facilities is pretty much the same formula that we used the previous year. I think over time, as we understand what our true planned costs are and then proactively plan replacements and things better than we do now, we'll translate those to more realistic numbers. But we're continuing to use basically formula funding for the facilities assets. And frankly, that wasn't changed. We just added inflationary rates to it from one year to the next.
The other thing that I didn't touch on was there was a change for some equipment to come out of CR&R. We were looking at when we purchased the new engine, this one that will be delivered this year, and then the next one in 23-24, that at those times we also upgrade the extrication equipment to hydraulics, which is basically electric or battery operated extrication tools. That way we take up less space on the vehicle. We also would be more interoperable with our neighbors. With that, also we look at changing to different PPB fans. Right now we use heavy gas powered ones, and we would, if this is approved, we would purchase electric powered ones that are battery operated, and they're substantially lighter and take up less space in the vehicles.
Where do those costs show up in here?
I don't have the chart in front of me, but I believe it's under the equipment above, right above the apparatus portion.
So
Chief, can you show him?
That's the 16-120. It's bold under 2021 under nozzle.
okay,
Hose,
thank you.
nozzles, and appliances.
All right.
Brent, I think I missed the comments about pickup trucks. We currently have one that's got the wildland pump in the back of it, and the other one is used more as a pickup truck. Okay. You had mentioned obtaining a regular wildland truck of some kind. Would that go along with surplusing or getting rid of that one of those two pickup trucks?
Correct. We would meet with the shops because they're identical pickup trucks. We would kind of discuss it with shops on which one we should keep. It may, the one that's the pickup version, I believe, has 70,000 miles. And the one that's the brush truck version with the skid unit in the back, I believe, has about 15 to 20,000 miles. So we would confer with them on what they recommend for keeping. So we may transfer the skid unit into the other one if that were the case, or sell the surplus it separate from the pickup. Basically, we would just keep the better of the two pickups.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
And the reason why we didn't have that on a replacement cycle is there's been talks. Lacey just went to a pickup version for a battalion rig. So we if we decided to do that, we may not need to replace a pickup. Also, pickup trucks are usually on the cheaper side of replacing things, and they have a pretty long life cycle because they don't get used as much. I mean, we use our pickup primarily just for hauling stuff and overall, or picking up hose from fires. So we'll see how much maybe the brush truck may be able to pick up that capacity.
Brent, this is Dan. When it's determined to finally put one of the vehicles out to pasture, how is it auctioned off, or does it go out? How is it disposed of then?
We have a couple different options. It kind of depends on the vehicle and how much value we think that there is to it. Because the fire service has placed life cycles on everything, a lot of things don't have a lot of value once they're at the end of their life cycle. You can still get some money for them, but you're not going to get as much as you would hope. So that's, for instance, why we were looking at the tender, why we were looking at surplusing one of those, because we could still get a substantial value for or price for what we have. And if we don't need it now, there's no sense in holding on to it for another 15 years. But going back to your question, we can give it, once it's surplus, we can send it to the state surplus and they can deal with selling it. Or we can sell it ourselves and do like a bid process where there's a closed bid and people get to put a value on it. Usually there's a minimum value. Or we can go to like an auction. I mean, for vehicles, we can pretty much do however we feel like once it's surplus, and we're going to feel like we get the best value. Some things we've done in the past too, if it's a vehicle that doesn't really have a lot of value, it might be like a older engine. And
So remind me what a tender is. Is that just
maybe
carry
a
water?
district. There may be a district in need, so we may sell a fire engine or something to a district that does not have as much financial positivity as we do.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
And then we could
So-
also donate them to like like Mexico or whatnot.
No,
So what if a
No,
private
we do not do
individual
that.
wanted to buy one?
we do not do that.
What'd you say?
We don't
Sorry, what was
donate- We don't donate surplus equipment.
Okay, so what if a private individual wanted to buy a tender?
It depends on how we put it up for sale.
Okay.
So we could open it up to the public and anybody can bid on it. So there are certain requirements, legal requirements that the law applies to. So whenever we look at that, we always just look at what any statutes that go with that.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, I've got a couple. On the Ford Expedition, the 90,021. So that's really getting a new battalion rig.
Well, so currently we have 3 SUVs. We use the 2010 Tahoe as our current Battalion 8, 2009 as the backup battalion, and the 2006 Expedition as our utility vehicle. So with this plan, we would just push that one into surplus, and we would then purchase a new SUV to be the new Battalion 8, and
Okay.
everything would move down a notch, essentially.
Okay. And the planning for the tenders, is that, or actually with all the apparatus, is that being done with an assumption that we are going to be in a two-station model? And
Correct.
Have we done any contingency planning in your process? If for some reason we don't get to a two-station model in a foreseeable future, what impact would that have on your apparatus needs?
It wouldn't change the impact, I believe. Maybe for like an aid unit or brush truck, but for the tenders, the idea is that we would, if we were at a two-station model, we would have one at each station and then one in reserve. So having three still allows that. Right now, it's kind of like we have two in reserve. And then for the engines, if we went down to a two-station model, we would still need to maintain ownership of four engines. That's basically because each station would need a reserve. Otherwise, if that station was out their main unit, they potentially wouldn't have access to the backup unit. We've had issues with having more than one engine out at a time. So it does account for that.
So if we, for an extended time, we're in a model where we are operating out of South Bay, North Olympia, and the resident program operating out of the Johnson Point station, you're saying we still would only need two tenders in that environment?
Three total. We would still need a reserve one. So.
Right, but two operating ones. So tenders would operate out of the two main stations?
Yes, and one station would have a reserve stored somewhere, or maybe be at the training site, depending on storage facilities.
Where's the awning on this?
The awning?
Yeah.
It's not specifically outlined. It's part of the overall expenditures at Station 81. So it's not a separate line.
Okay,
item.
so we haven't costed that out and put that on here yet.
No.
We're working on bids right now.
Okay. The only other issue or question I had, and Chief, I'd sent you an email about this one, was just the balance in the fund gets very low in 2030. And I was a little concerned about just running that tight. And as I thought about it, it seems to me that we do the transfer into this account in November of each year. And so most of unless we're spending all the money in the last month of the year, most of the money that's showing up in a year is being spent before the money comes into the account for that year. So there's some cash flow issues that I think we might get into if the balance is as low as you have here. So I don't know if you got a chance to look at that to see if there was any possibility of managing this with some kind of a minimum balance or approach, or bumping up our transfer to earlier in the year so that we're have a more manageable balance. Did you look at that at all?
No, I didn't really have an opportunity, but one of the things that we have done is try to spread out the expenditures so there's more of a leveling effect, which we've done with this version. In fact, it's pretty well leveled out. I did increase the estimated contribution with a 4.8% inflationary factor, instead of 4. So we've increased that over time. I don't know that we've not historically run into a cash problem over the course of a year, because generally the purchases that we have is when we've received the authority to do that program. It usually takes 10, 11 months to get it done, because we're buying things generally that are large scale. The expensive ones are certainly large scale and may even push into the next year. So I would say that within a year that we haven't historically experienced any cash flow problems with that. And the other thing is that we tend to underspend the budgets in the capital. We try to have as good an estimate of what the items will be. And in fact, we've had a history of deferring things like, engines and things that we felt could last another year. So I don't know that it's, and then looking out, 12 years hence, that it's going to make much difference. I think we'll probably, hopefully, continue to look at this annually and make substantial changes every 3 or 4 years that will take care of that. So frankly, I was most worried about the next 5 years, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I saw that too. And I can't lose any sleep over it, frankly.
No, I'm not losing sleep over it at all. But and just thinking in terms of a district plan budget, I would prefer having a budget that has a little bit more capacity to give. That's cutting it pretty darn close.
So would I. The other thing is I think as we become more adept at planning our facilities expenditures, that those amounts will go down too, which will help that long-term push out as well. Right now, I think that because we still learning what our real expenditures are, buildings, components of buildings, land, and so forth, are really an unknown. That's the focus that I've asked Brent and his team to work on, and understanding better and predicting better what those costs will be. So, and we're starting to get there. I know Sean's begun working on that. I know Brent has too. So, but other than that, I didn't think that there were any significant changes that we needed to make. Brent, unless you have anything else with that.
No, I do not.
Did that answer your question, Mel?
Yeah, I think so. I'm still not comfortable with it, but I understand what you're saying.
Thank you, Brent.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have any questions? Good. Okay.
Well, what I'd like is board approval of this plan for this year. And then, like we do every year in our budget process, we look at it and we modify it. And I think it's in pretty good shape now, and would recommend that the board approve it.
Okay, is there any more discussion on it? Can we get a motion to approve it?
I'll motion that we approve.
Second? So we've
I'll
had
second it.
a motion to approve the capital and repairs replacement fund schedule, and it's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
And it's been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Do you guys need me for anything else? I have a little girl that needs to go to bed.
Is there any questions for Brent on anything?
I don't have any
No.
others. Thanks, Brent.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Brent.
Brent.
Yep, thank you.
Are you down to announcements now?
No, we got WFCA conference.
Oh, okay.
So I sent out that information to you guys, and I don't know if you had an opportunity to look at the website, but the reason there was no information about the actual conference is they're waiting to see how many people are interested before they generate that information. So it's kind of a chicken or egg thing
Yeah.
because you can't apply
Yeah.
to, I don't even know how they're going to know other than maybe contacting the hotel to see how many rooms were reserved because that's the only thing we can do. And I went ahead and reserved rooms for everybody with the idea that if you choose not to, we can always cancel it. It's better to have the room held as opposed to not having a room. So
Is that the one that's up north?
at the Tulalip?
Tulalip?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know when the WFCA is going to actually present the agenda, et cetera, and information on registering because that's not been made available yet. But
Okay.
I thought it was rather odd,
It-
not
it was
even
odd.
a theme or
Nothing.
no clue at all about
Yeah.
what it would be.
Well, they usually don't decide that until June. The education committee, after they have the thing at Chehalis, they meet and it gets decided then. So it's always
That
kind of
still
a
seems
last
kind of
minute thing.
odd. You're selling your product before
Yeah.
you've decided even what it was going to be.
Mhm.
I know that's the way they have historically operated. So
Your hardware.
Okay, so thank you, Heidi.
I don't have any other announcements
Yeah,
at this
okay.
time.
Any
Ooh,
commissioner?
Actually,
Huh?
Madam Chair, I have a couple of items.
Okay,
One, I did send out a notice about an upcoming executive seminar hosted by the Thurston County Emergency Management. And it's on the 26th at 5:30. It will be a virtual one, but it might be a nice opportunity to kind of get a peek at how the emergency management side of public safety works. Because we're a fire district, we're not directly involved in those things like cities and counties and so forth. But I think if you have the time and interest, it might be worth tuning in on. If you are interested, send me an email and I'll get us signed up. But I've been attending them for quite a while, and I think it could be a good education. So if you're interested, let me know. The second thing I have is finally, hallelujah, we have finished the negotiation and signed the agreement, and we got a check in the mail from our friends at Insight Wireless for the tower, $875,000.
wow. I
No,
thought they were going to back out of that.
I talked him out of it. I talked him off the ledge, so
Good.
off the
Good
edge of the
job.
tower. So we'll be getting a check next week on that, and that will go into our capital repairs, capital facilities fund for future purposes. And then the third thing I have is Heidi worked her fingers off on a application to FEMA Homeland Security for reimbursement for COVID response. And we will be getting a check from the government for just slightly over $63,000
Nice.
reimbursement for COVID-related operations and stuff. So the application package is that thick. So Doug, you've probably seen it.
You get about $1 per page.
Good job, Heidi. Good job.
Slightly, yeah. But kudos to Heidi for the good work that she did. And that's all I had. I just
So
want to,
now where will that money go to then?
probably operating because it's a reimbursement for operating expenses. So
And then the following year, I get to do that, have the financial report and report it all. It's going to be fun. That'll be
Yeah.
more work than the application.
Oh,
Yeah.
good job. Okay, so do we have any commissioners' comments?
I've got a couple. Hopefully everybody saw a notice from the Washington Fire Commissioners Association about some upcoming webinars they're doing instead of the Chehalis program in June. And wanted to highlight in particular this one on May 12th on communication with the public, which I was at the meeting where they were putting together the agenda for Chehalis and advocated for them putting that topic on there. So, because I thought it might benefit us. So it ended up on their list. And so since that's a priority for us, encourage us to participate in that one. And the other item I've got,
when
I'm
is
sorry?
that, Mel?
it's May 12th, 9 o'clock. I don't know I haven't seen any more information about it as far as how long it is,
9
or,
a.m.
yeah, or who's giving it. I don't know if it's a Liz Loomis or what.
It's a virtual presentation.
Yeah, it's going to be a webinar. And then the other thing I wanted to highlight is there's a bill. It's now, I think it's called engrossed House Bill 1329. That's winding its way through the legislative process and is on second reading in the Senate now, so it's likely to pass. And it's the bill that adds new requirements for board meetings for local government. They've watered it down quite a bit, so it's more along the lines of encouraging us to do certain things, but the reality will be that we'll probably eventually end up going down those routes, and it'll include, this kind of virtual environment on an ongoing basis, and posting those recordings of meetings online for 6 months, and
Oh, okay.
things like that. So you might want to just keep an eye on that. That's all I had.
Can I make a quick statement here? And I think we should capture in the minutes, reiterate at the beginning of the meeting, I did explain the public rules about COVID following the LNI regulations. I'd like to put in there that you can show me as the supervisor to have as a meeting, follow the LNI regulations. We've even put in the airflow parameters we have to have in order to do that. We are 6 feet apart. We have a virtual option. So I think we just should capture in the minutes that we followed all these things, since this is our open meeting.
I really appreciate all that effort to do that.
Yeah.
Makes me feel good to be here.
Feels
with
better
all
to know that it's in the minutes too.
Then you should sit by the door. It's cold.
Yeah. Blankets next time.
I was going to just comment on Milt's comment about the possible changes to the board meetings, because it's interesting that when we attempted to post the recordings on our website, they take up so much room. It was almost impossible to do it easily. So what our fantastic volunteer Jim Zopoulos came up with was the YouTube channel that we have. So that's where he's got them. And then we post the link on our website. So we're not actually holding all that data. But 6 months is a lot. That would be a lot of data. So I'm interested in how they're going to propose that we do that.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as waving a magic wand.
I think that legislation was suggested by Bill Gates.
I thought maybe it was suggested by Comcast.
There you go.
Yeah.
YouTube, however that works.
The other thing that it does require, I think this is a requirement, is that there be a formal public comment section in regular meetings before we take any action on things, which I think we've done in the past, and we don't have anybody here to give comment, but
Right.
but
You-
I
You
think
were doing
that's
that
a
when
good
I
thing to have.
first started. You guys were asking the public, but
Yeah,
there's usually
and
one or
we-
two people in
Maybe,
the room.
Heidi,
so.
maybe we need to put that in just so we at the top.
Yeah,
Do
sure.
we have any, or either at the top or at the bottom,
Okay, yeah, we can do
public comments on our agenda, just so it's there.
Yep.
And if somebody is on, then then they have a spot. Okay.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I do have
Oh.
one other, excuse
Go
me.
ahead.
I do have one other thing. I attended last month, the Thurston County Fire Commissioner Association meeting. And they were looking to put somebody in, they wanted another representative from our district in place of Rich Gleckler to back up Stan Moon. And I was nominated and chosen, so I'm sitting in that seat now. But yeah, it went through like a train. So there was only one other person spoke up, and he said, "No way! If you want to do it, you do it." So,
Well, good. Congratulations.
Yeah. Kudos to you, Daniel.
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks for
Yeah,
doing that.
that'll be represented through Medic One. I'll be attending a training session later this month.
Okay. Good. Okay, and thank you for the ceremony with all of the new staff to our team of members. That was great. It was nice. It
Good,
was nice
yeah.
to be able to see
Just
them.
glad
be
to
able come
recognize them all. What a
Yeah.
good group of folks.
So, and it's nice to be able to be here in person. It feels like you're coming back home, kind of thing. So,
In the winter with the
Yeah.
fan next to
Can you see me? Hi, Milt. Okay, so we will take a recess for executive session. And we won't
Just a
make
point
any-
of order, is there an executive session subject because the labor discussion is not a public meeting? It's not part of this meeting. It's not an executive session.
Say that again?
The discussion of labor issues is not an executive session. It's a non-public meeting.
Okay.
So we don't have to, we're not required by the restrictions of an open public meeting for the discussion of labor issues.
Okay,
An executive session is kind of a recess of an open public meeting. So just point of clarification.
okay, well,
If there's something that we want to, or you all want to talk about as the executive session,
we have your evaluation done and,
okay, well, then that could be done in an executive session.
Okay.
You can't make a decision, but the labor issues that I want to brief you on would be done after this meeting is adjourned.
okay. So are all of us good to talk to the chief about his evaluation?
Sure. So what you're saying is we'll recess and do an executive session, and then we'll adjourn, and then have the other meeting to talk about
Correct.
labor strategy.
Yes, so
Okay.
we're going to adjourn into executive session to go over chief's evaluation, and then we will adjourn and go into our labor meeting.
However, you're not going to want the secretary and the assistant chief here for the evaluation portion.
We'll excuse ourselves for that part, but then we'll be back for the,
Okay,
Or we could reverse it.
I would also like to suggest, since it's not a public meeting, that once you've adjourned, that we go into the smaller meeting room. We can socially distance there,
okay,
but have the conversation there rather than this.
yes, that's fine.
I think
So-
now that it won't be public either, I could get rid of the fan if that'll help if you do want to
I
stay
don't,
here.
I would prefer not, unless we want to get closer.
So
We can talk without a
do we want to
microphone.
do we want to do the labor one first? So that, I mean,
I
No,
think if you're adjourning, we're recessing for executive session and then
Yes.
you would adjourn.